So I've got with me here the X Fold3 Pro, and it has some stunning hardware, and it really is the best in terms of hardware that you can get now for foldables at the time of this video. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It has two ultrasonic fingerprint readers, one on the outside, one on the inside. Stylus support. Both of the screens are 4500 nits. They are both 120 Hz AMOLEDs. And so it's 6.53 on the outer screen here with a normal aspect ratio, so 21:9. And then when you open it up, we have then a large, very large 8.03 inch screen. Now it's very thin. It's around about 5.2 millimeters when open, the thickness of it, yet it still has within it a 5,700 milliamp hour battery with 120 watt fast charging. Charger is included in the box, 50 watt wireless charging, and cameras. Zeiss optics yet again, but no T-Star coating, unfortunately, but a 50 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 50 megapixel 3x optical zoom camera. So the hardware is great, but what about that software? That was my issue with the Fold 1 and the Fold 2 from Vivo. Hopefully they've corrected that now with this model, and let's find out in my full review. Along with the phone, we get a 120 watt charger, very quick, about 30 minutes. I'll give you the exact time later in this review. Type-C to Type-C cable, SIM tray tool, and they do include this case here. Now the case just offers protection for the back of the phone and the spine, top and bottom, and camera module. Not the front of it, unfortunately, the front half, but I'm sure there's third-party cases out there that you can get that would offer that. So that competition's still on, of course, and it always will be, to find who can make the lightest and thinnest. So it is supposed to be 236 grams, but my scales tell me that, well, at least the version I've got here in white does have 246 grams total weight here for the unit, which is still really good when you consider other flagships. This is another Vivo phone. That's the X100 Pro, that's at 227 grams. Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is 235, and you'll see that that is still, I think, an excellent weight considering it's a foldable. It's got two halves to it and a much larger screen, of course. So when you first handle the phone, you notice that weight, that very lightweight for a foldable. Thickness of it, just 11.2 millimeters, and when you unfold it, then you're looking at here, measuring here, just 5.2. So it is incredibly thin, looks fantastic. We've got that alloy build around the outside, a matte finish to it. SIM tray tool takes two nano SIMs. This is Type-C USB 3.2 with video out. Fast transfers, you can see the antenna lines there too as well. And we of course have a ultrasonic fingerprint reader. They've made a comeback because we had them before in some of the earlier Vivos, but we didn't get it with the X100 Pro for some reason, which was odd. But look at this, you just tap it and it works. It is such a good fingerprint reader. And not only is there just the outer one, also one right here. So tapping again, real quick, you don't need to tap and hold or anything. It's so accurate, so good, and it is just class leading in terms of fingerprint reader performance. One of the best. So inner cameras, 32 megapixel, well the one here and the one on the outside, and you can see there that I do have 5G, HD for the voice calls is showing there as well. I found the signal strength and the speeds to be good, no issues. Bezels around the side are slightly elevated by about approximately 0.5 millimeter. So when you put it together, of course it closes flush. The screens are not going to be rubbing up against each other. A grain of salt in there could be an issue, but there's a little bit of a gap, so you shouldn't have any problems. And you can see they've got that really nice animation when you do open it up. Now the crease, let me turn the screen off, put it at a funny angle. The crease, you don't really notice it at all. When you're using it, you don't see it, but you can see a tiny bit there. And running my finger over it, you notice it, but barely, okay? It is really good, and they're using a carbon fiber hinge. The spine there, that's made out of alloy again. Up the top, IR transmitter, loudspeaker, secondary mic. There's another mic here as well on the back with our cameras. Now, if you're thinking the cameras are going to be very similar to their flagship X100 Pro, and we do have the X100 Ultra still to come from them, well, think again. They're not going to be that good. But I will say this now in testing them out, that the cameras are very very good for a foldable. They're certainly better, I think, than others out there with the Zeiss optics, but no T-Star coating. See how we got the T-Star logo there? Zeiss coating for the reflections, but we don't get it. But we do get the Zeiss optics, and it's got its imaging chip, the V3 chip, and there's also a dedicated security chip. And we even get an IPX8 water resistance with this phone. So this unit here, I did buy from these guys, Trading Shenzhen. I've been using them for years now, haven't had any issues. They included a pen there and a power adapter for, of course, the two-prong style to EU for me. And they did take around about 12 days all up or so to arrive. Now, the UI, this is not fun touch that you would get with a global version like this I have here with the X100 Pro. No, this is OriginOS. And there's things about OriginOS that I like, mostly all of it. I think it's better optimized. And normally that tends to be the case. Chinese ROMs will be better optimized, get the newer features before you get them with the global versions. So you see that we've got two screens here that I have set up, and this is how it works with the foldable. So you've got your left side, and then your right with your screens. Of course, you can add more. And I'll just show you here that I'm not using the all-in-one kind of screen. I still have this set up with here. You can go and see, okay, your apps drawer. I prefer that, but you can have it all just widgets and apps all in there, not a problem. So you can see I've got the left here and then the right, and you'll have the left on the outer screen when you go to close it. So I like this, and it makes it easier to organize and set up your apps. Again, that fingerprint reader, absolutely fantastic. It's just so good. So talking a little bit about these screens, they are 120 Hertz, as I mentioned quite a few times. Dolby Vision support with them. So this display here, which is our cover display, is up to 4500 nits. Now, I have not been able to measure that, but it is extremely bright. You can see it in direct sunlight without an issue, as you can see now, and you can use it just fine. And it maintains that brightness. It doesn't tend to throttle down, which is very good. So this is a 21:9 aspect ratio. The resolution is very good. So it is 1172 by 2748 the pixels and 6.53 inches. In a screen is not as bright as you come to expect. In fact, sorry, it is as bright. It's the same. Sorry, I got myself confused. It's still the 4500 nits, and this is supposed to be supporting Dolby Vision 2 as well. Well, it does, but Netflix doesn't show HDR support yet for it, but it does run in full HD. Talk a little bit about that later on in the video here. So this one, 8.03 inches, as I mentioned, the resolution 2 before. So it's LTPO AMOLED and 120 Hertz, so very, very smooth with everything you do. Now with OriginOS, there is a lot of pre-installed bloatware, Chinese stuff, okay, just made for them. The good news is they let us uninstall everything, and you can get rid of whatever app that you don't like. So I got rid of all the Chinese bloat. It's all gone now, tidied it all up, and it's very good. Now, notifications, no issues. They're all coming through. Probably one of the best when it comes to Chinese phones. Now, there was this little smart cards thing here on the side if I would keep swiping over to the left here, but I disabled that. You've got to go through the settings. So there's that period of about 30 minutes where you got to remove bloat, setting it all up, you know, the standard kind of thing. It is not hard at all to do. You do get their Origin kits, which are widgets. And yes, some of these are going to show up with a bit of Chinese. You can see, in fact, a lot of them. But even though now Origin Notes is all in English, it still just shows here, at least in Chinese. Again, because it's, well, you know, it's Origin OS. It's made for the Chinese market, not really for us at all. But if I decide I wanted that, I can put it up here and you'll see that, oh, actually, no, there's no Chinese. So that's the Notes application is probably, I've got no notes there in the moment, but it's all in English. So I will be using that. Now, Gboard works fine with it. As you can see, I've got it installed. You can do the split screen if you want. If you find typing like that with a foldable is a little easier for you. Auto rotation, everything, of course, is working perfect. The UI performance and speed, really, really good. So a couple of other things that I wanted to mention, that we don't have Android Auto. You don't get that with Chinese devices, Chinese phones and things. It's just not going to have it there. I did install it, but it won't trigger. It won't work because it needs to be actually built into the ROM part of it, part of the framework. So we don't have that. But Google Play Store, of course, that's working. No problems. You just need to install the APK file. and you're up and running. Log in and everything else, and it's going to work. No issues there. And the notifications, as mentioned, they're all coming through. Can't get Google Chrome, but you can run the beta. The beta does run fine with no problems, and it is smooth. And it depends really on what refresh rate you set. So if you're on the smart option, sometimes some apps will just be in 60 hertz refresh. So if you want to override that, you can, of course, and get everything to run at 120 to make them a little smoother. So some other things to run through, that they are pumping out firmware updates. I am on the latest at the time of me filming this particular review. Some optimizations to, well, a lot of things. Camera was included in there. So this is what it looks like when you start out, but the guys over at Trading Shenzhen did do a bit of de-bloating there themselves, but I managed to uninstall a lot of this stuff. So Jovi Lens, Voice, and just a few other things like their Blue ML Copilot, which is, yes, an AI program, but more specific to, again, the Chinese. So the playback specification here for Netflix, full HD, great. HDR capabilities, nothing, unfortunately. Even though it's a Dolby Vision supporting screen, it's just not being recognized by most people at the moment, okay? And this also goes for Amazon Prime Video. You get everything in full HD, but you're not going to get HDR, which is unfortunate. Safteynet test, it gets a pass, and there is NFC on board, so you can use banking applications. This is a real good one to have. So the only thing we're really missing out on getting this being a Chinese version is just Android Auto. That's really it so far. Camera 2 Probe is level 3, so full if you want to try some Gcam, Port, Open Camera. All those third-party camera applications will be working and do work fine. This was me trying to connect it up to try to get Android Auto to work. Now, the only kind of auto program it's going to work with are ones that are supported with Chinese manufacturers, okay? So you can see there's a few of them listed here, but Android Auto definitely not working, and there will be no way to fix that, unfortunately. Antutu score, impressive, really impressive for a foldable. This makes it the fastest that you can get, really, for foldables now, it is. And that's well over 2 million points there. And the temperatures, yes, 12.4 degrees it went up, and we lost 7% battery just from that simple test. So it gets hot, it does. And I'll talk about that soon in just a sec. Internal storage speed, UFS 4.0, 512 gigabytes, really quick, no problems, no bottlenecks. And what about our throttling? So it throttled down almost 20%, which I think for a foldable is not bad at all. Now, I did put it into the high performance mode, which does permit higher temperatures. But how high? Well, this is where things get, a little bit hot. 54 degrees Celsius. Wow. And that is it measuring, I believe, the chipset or the battery sensor there for the thermals. I recorded 56 degrees on the back of it. Just around this area of the frame, gets really hot, way too hot if you're going to be pushing this really hard. Again, that was in the performance mode. If you put it in balance with the battery, it won't get quite as hot, but it still gets to almost 50 degrees Celsius, which I think is, starting to push it. But good performance, maintains that performance. Just be prepared for that heat. And I didn't even have a case on it. So the charge time for our 5,550 milliamp hour battery is very good. So from 11% to 100 just took 32 minutes. I think their official time is 30. So hey, I'm 2 minutes off. So that is excellent. And then let's talk a little bit about battery life. I've been testing it out now for 2 days, 2 cycles, and it's not too bad. So first day I only got 7 hours use and only 4.5 hours of screen on time, but I was using the camera like crazy. I was watching Netflix, a lot of it with a very high brightness. I was just pushing it to the absolute max, recording video and a bit of Genshin Impact as well. And then the last charge here, I took it easy and I was just using it all the time, continually, as you can see. And I have a screen on time of, wait for it, about 9 hours if I take away what I've got here. No, in fact, it's almost about 10 hours. Crazy amount of screen on time. That was using the adaptive refresh rate, okay? So if you set it to 120, it will be less. And my brightness was a little less too as well. It was somewhere in the middle that I set it. So it was probably about 900, 800 nits that I was using only, but very good. The battery life is looking super solid. And of course, it does have that new style of battery, which I believe is a calcium one, or calcium base. slightly different chemistry and tech involved in it. So it seems to be very good, and I hope it's supposed to be a lot better for the battery cycles too as well. So really good battery life. What you can do with that flex mode, so you can prop it up like so, and you can see here you've got your keyboard, your comments. You can bring those up here. Whoops, I've just gone out of something. Exit that mode. So you can decide to type here with comments, and there's my keyboard. But notice how it has done this. It's put up this little tiny border here, which is a little annoying, but that's the only way. It just seems to be in certain applications it does that. Now you can go through the settings, I believe stretch that out completely. It's the way it has the comments here, and then you can type, you know, right down here as well. So you can use it a little bit like a small little PC, which a lot of people will probably be very fond of to be able to do that. So getting out of that now and out of the flex mode, of course I can make this full screen, easily rotate it around. But let's have a listen to what the speakers sound like at 100% max volume. And I'll do a very quick gaming test because this is pretty obvious. We've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, top settings as you can see here for Genshin Impact, and it is very good. The only thing is what I pointed out with the 3D Mark score is the thermals. If you game for hours, it starts to get pretty hot and uncomfortably hot around where the camera is. Now, I prefer to have where the camera is down the bottom, so I get, you can see there, the front-facing 32 megapixel camera of the inner screen is kind of down here instead of having it at the top. Why I do this is because if you game the other way around, which of course I can do right now, you're going to start blocking those speakers, and then it doesn't sound as good, but I do like the vibrations you get from the speakers add to the immersion. And even though the screen aspect ratio is quite squarish here, it still looks really good, this game. And the performance is absolutely top notch, and the screen just makes it look stunning. Really good phone for gaming. It's just those thermals, but the frame rate, lack of lags, the performance, really solid. The best in terms of performance for games, for everything. For a foldable, it's this. It's the X Fold3 from Vivo. I do find the phone to be great for PDF files and ebooks. So this is an ebook here loaded up via Google Play Books, and you can see it looks really good on the screen. However, we get the ugly bar, even though I do have it set through the settings for the foldable mode to be full screen. It just doesn't seem to play ball with absolutely every single application. You're still going to get the bar at the top. Now you can either hold it portrait or landscape. PDF files looking a little more crammed. This is just a single page, so it's normal. The text is going to be so tiny and small, very hard to read. And I can flip it around, and it's even smaller because it's now displaying 2 pages either side. So that's just not going to work. I want to keep it in portrait, and then I just have to double tap to zoom or try and scale it to fit there. We still have, unfortunately, with Google Play Books here, that border at the top. And let me show you a bit of multitasking. You can resize and set things in smaller windows. I've got Genshin Impact, which is a demanding game. But you can see it is running there just fine. It does not seem to lag. In the background here, I've got Chrome. And I notice that Chrome is, the scrolling now, not quite as smooth. It's still not too bad at all. And the way you do it is just to go to your recent apps here and decide, okay, YouTube, I want this to be, well, split screen. So I could have it on one side and then select another app that I can just bring up. So whatever I want, I'll just bring up, okay, Play Store right here. And you'll see there I have them set up. You can rescale this. I can go back in here. I can decide that I also want to run Chrome in a small window and do that as well. So I've got a small window, split screen, still got Genshin Impact running in the background. And oh, that performance, that's good. So this performance is still looking good. And what about, okay, that was slight delay there in flipping that around, and everything is running here just fine. And I can bring this up and decide to run something else here in a small window, PDF. That has come up now. So, okay, I've reached the limit now. You see that what happened, it minimized their Genshin Impact. So I need to tap on that to bring it up. And now it's swapping. I can swap between the tabs. So it is really a multitasker's dream. You can do so much at the same time with the X Fold3 Pro. So let's take a look at the cameras. This is first the inner camera, which is exactly the same as the outer camera, and you only get 1080p max. However, because this is a foldable, there's an easy fix for this. And that is to flip it around and of course use the rear camera, which is 50 megapixels with optical image stabilization. This looks a lot better than the outer and inner cameras, which are limited to 1080p only too. So you can swap over the cameras on the fly when you're using. This is currently the ultra wide with electronic image stabilization. The main camera now, 50 megapixels with the optical image stabilization, and I'm shooting in 4K 30 frames per second. This is 2x digital, our 3x optical zoom camera, which looks like it's not using it for video. It's hard to tell actually. And then 6x now, which is not looking very good at all. Back to our main camera. And we can shoot 8K 30 frames per second, but what I've noticed is that it does not have electronic image stabilization. It seems to only use optical image stabilization. When you hold it really still, you can see it's shaking around a little, but when I start to walk, well, that's terrible. They really do need to add that option to use also electronic image stabilization with 8K footage. As for our cameras, they're probably one of the best when it comes to foldable phones. However, don't be fooled in thinking that this is going to take photos just like the Vivo X100 Pro, because it won't, okay? The sensors aren't quite as good. This is the macro shot, great amount of detail captured there, a little bit of clipping with the colors as you can see. So further optimization is needed, but I do like the fact that we've got the Zeiss colors, which are more true to life, more natural. White balance tends to be pretty much correct too as well. Portrait photos do look good, and they are great, I think, for a foldable, but again, not at the X100 Pro or X100 Ultra kind of level. Definitely not. They're their top flagship camera phones. This is a foldable, so there are some compromises. This is our zoom camera, so at 6x here, looks decent, it's usable, but 10x you can see that not really that great. Still usable for social media, but at 10x quite weak. A lot of digital zoom there because it's only 3x optical. Ultra wide, plenty of details, not bad. Again, for a foldable, it's probably one of the best you can get for a foldable. And yet again, the Zeiss colors, good to see them being more true to life, more natural. Of course, you can use other profiles like textured as well, or more saturated. Low light performance, very good again for a foldable. I think it has to be the best for the low light shots. You can easily nitpick and start to pull these photos to bits when you do zoom in a little, but not bad at all. But it will not be at the level of other flagships. This again is in another category, really being a foldable. It's still very, very good. And overall, I'm happy with the cameras. So there we go. What it boils down to is you've got yourself here a foldable with some absolute fantastic hardware. That screen is very good and the outer screen's great. That ultrasonic fingerprint reader, the best there is. It really is class leading. It just works every single time, super quick. Cameras, now they're not disappointing for a foldable. In fact, I would say they're probably the best cameras that a foldable has. However, they don't match the performance of, say, the Vivo X100 Pro. I didn't expect them to. That's a very different kind of setup there. It's a flagship camera phone. It uses larger sensors. This is all about weight reduction. So they couldn't put a 1-inch type sensor in it. Unfortunately, the zoom's not quite as good. You get the idea. There are some improvements they can improve upon, software-wise. For example, the 8K video is looking sharp, but there's no electronic image stabilization. A bit disappointing there. The other is the black bar that you'll get either on one side or on the top, depending on your screen orientation, is annoying. It's full scaling doesn't seem to work and scale with every single app. So some of them, you get that annoying little bar. Like Netflix, you're missing a little bit of screen real estate. Now I hope that, and I'm pretty sure that Vivo will be able to fix this. Battery life, absolutely fantastic for a foldable. Really good with this model here. You can easily get 7-8 hours of screen on time. Charge time, 30 minutes to fully charge. A large battery. The different battery chemistry is slightly different there. And I hope that means we're going to get a lot more charges out of it, more long-term out of the battery. and the general build quality software good, but we don't get Android Auto either. That's one thing to bear in mind. You get some Chinese notifications, all seem to be working with it. However, all up, this is a really good phone here from Vivo, a step above the X Fold 2, the X Fold 3. The biggest thing for me is they've improved that software. It's a lot better now. Really liking it. I think OriginOS is better than FunTouch. I really do. It seems better optimized. It's such a quick phone. So thanks a lot for watching my review here of the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro.